To the news, Nuno will be staying at London Stadium by a West Ham fan. Dan Lawless joins us now. Good morning, Dan. Dan, for those who don't know and haven't seen you on in the last few weeks, you've been very critical of Nuno even before you were relegated. You were saying you wanted Nuno to go next season. So what's your reaction to this? And he's staying.
Very mixed to be honest. As you know, I've made no secret of my sort of displeasure with Nuno and the decisions he's made as the manager. You know, we had a good run of form, but I think a lot of those games where we've dropped points have been by his doing. He's lost a lot of faith with me. However, looking at it on a more positive note, is we won't have to worry about wasting time looking for a new manager and hoping we get that appointment right. So at least we know right now who the manager is. I've read reports that David Sullivan was in favour of getting rid of Nuno. So that's a bit positive and hopeful that maybe Sullivan is losing power. And hopefully now Nuno, with a pre-season and a full season behind him, no excuses, can go and build a team that suits him more. So I'm going to give him another chance and get behind him. But I think he's going to be on thin ice with a lot of fans right now. So I'm hoping he hits the ground running, because if he don't, the fans will turn quickly. But yeah, mixed emotions for me.
I was going to ask if you're surprised that they've made this decision so quickly. I haven't thought long we're about to. It sounds like you're quite happy that at least it's been decisive.
Yeah, there were reports that they was going to take some time, and there wasn't an agreement on whether he should stay or go, and that was the thing that concerned me the most, because whether you keep him or not, it's important we move quickly, because we are behind so many teams that we're competing with in the Championship now. We already have their managers, already have their plans in place for who they're signing and who they're selling, and for us, whatever we do, it's important we move quickly and decisively. So like I said, as much as I'm not convinced by Nuno, I'm happy that a decision's been made now, and I really hope he can do a lot to go and win back the fans, because I've concerns over whether he can, you know, when the pressure's on, rise to the occasion. And that's the thing. At Forest, he had them in Champions League positions in third, and they dropped like a stone. He had us in several times in a favourable advantage to pull away from Spurs, and we threw it away. So I hope he don't do the same in the Championship.
Do you think that he's been promised that he can keep at least some of his key players? And then what happens if we get to the middle of August and some of them are sold underneath him?
Look, I think Nuno will be under no illusions that we're in a very difficult financial position. Like, you know, we need to raise around £150 million on sales, it's reported. So I think if he's been promised that and taken that promise, I think that would be a naive thing to believe, because anyone can go. But I'm sure there's some players there that are in favour with him that will probably give him words that they'd want to stay. My worry is the players that he tends to fall out with. We have someone like James Ward-Prowse to come back on loan. Now, while I didn't think he was quite up to the standard for us in the Premier League, he'd be a very important asset in the Championship, and that bridge is completely burned. I think Callum Wilson, I think that all but guarantees he leaves. The fact that Nuno's staying, so there's the players that he's got a good relationship. I think there's more chance of him staying, but some other players there's more chance of him going now he's staying.
Talking of relationships, the fan relationship with the board hasn't been that good this season. A bit longer than that. They've announced season ticket price reduction. Is that something that's going to help? I mean, albeit you are a division below.
Yeah, look, that's something that needed to happen. I think they know that the fan base, doesn't really have the appetite to go and watch the team at that stadium. A lot of fans, I walked away from the stadium last season because of that very reason. I just don't like the stadium. We've lost upwards of 40,000 season ticket holders from Upton Park at the London Stadium, and that was, I think, last year January that number was reported. So now going into a season in the Championship, I think we could hemorrhage season ticket holders. So for them, it's the best thing that they could do to try to convince people to renew and hopefully for them come back. So it's going to be very interesting to see how many people do renew off the back of that 30% drop.
What else can the board do?
Look, I think short of the easy answer is sell up and leave, which is my hope. I think what they need to really do is start investing their own money to get the club back up, because that is one thing that it's been reported that can help ease a lot of our financial issues, and the need to have a fire sale is if they invest their own money. That will ease FFP and PSR and all these new rules coming in. So if they was to actually start to invest their own money and show ambition, try to get some quality players that you can maybe convince to step down, those players that are on the fringes of Premier League teams that we could maybe go and sign, someone like a Nonto off Leeds who's been on the bench for them. You try and get quality players, maybe top players from championship clubs, and rebuild and show ambition and have a long-term plan. Get a structure like someone like Palace have, Brighton, Bournemouth. That's what I really want to see, short of just leaving and giving it to someone else more suitable. So there it was. I tried to look at things objectively, really, and not just emotionally. The emotional side of me says, why are we keeping this fraud of a manager? The objective side of me says that, at least we've made a decision one way or the other, and we've made it now. And there's players I think that will stay, like Tati Castellanos. Apparently he liked the post that announced it. There was reports coming out that he would stay if Nuno stayed. And look, I think as Premier League wise goes, I don't rate Tati too highly. There's a decent player there, of course, but some of the chances he misses, it's just shocking. But in the Championship, I think he'll smash it. And I think you keep Tati, and Pablo will probably stay. Again, another player I don't so much rate on the ball. Off the ball, there's a player. You have to think that he'll have a little bit more time on the ball in the Championship. We'll get some more opportunities. And then it's just trying to keep Jared Bowen. We ain't keeping Somerville. If we can somehow keep Bowen, and you've got that core there, I don't think we're keeping Callum Wilson now. I think any hope of that is probably gone. Their relationship seems frosty at best. Like I mentioned, Ward-Prowse, which, look, it's not the be-all and end-all if Ward-Prowse leaves when we're in the Championship, but I think he would have been a good option to have. And for Nuno now, he's got to prove he's not a bottle job, because that's what I think he is. I think he's a bottle job. I didn't want to use that word on Sky, but that's truly what I think of him. Is he bottled the Champions League? He bottled Europa League at Forest. They only got into it through the legal hiccup for Palace, and he bottled so many chances to pull away from Spurs in the Premier League. That Newcastle game was just unforgivable, and it's going to take him a lot to earn back the faith and trust of a lot of West Ham fans. If he does what he did in the Premier League and he starts going cautious and timid and scared into Championship games, subbing strikers off for defenders on a 1-0 lead and sitting back, the patience will not be there in the Championship. I promise you that. Fans will want to see us be ruthless in it, because if it's not looking like we're in a strong position, changes need to be made. Like, going into next season, we need to be in a position where we are strongly contending for the league. Have to be. I don't want to see us thinking about, can we make the playoffs? Can we hold our position in the playoffs? We have to be looking at the league. We have to be looking at first, second at the least. I don't want to do the playoffs. It's such a lottery at that stage. So, look, it doesn't mean that I'm saying that it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But we need to be now trying to do everything we can to keep the Premier League quality players that we have and attract more Premier League player qualities. Or Premier League quality players, sorry. That needs to be the objective. Get players that are too good for the league. I want to piss that league. I don't want it to look in jeopardy. I don't want to be stressing. I don't want to give Nuno an opportunity to start being fearful and shutting up shop in games or playing back fives away from home to flipping Lincoln. I don't want to see any of that. I want him to learn his lesson, and look, hopefully now pre-season behind him, he can get some more coaching staff in. Like, if you're going to stick with him, then just back him all the way. Get his own coaching staff in. Get some more players in and just go for it. No half measures. And like I said, the other positive is it seems that it's not gone Sullivan's way, which could be the sign of him starting to lose power at this football club. You know, that is a positive. As much as I would have agreed with sacking him, and he deserved to be sacked, if you asked Sullivan, he would have delayed and dilly-dallied on it, and I don't trust them to go and get someone else. And at this stage, would I really bother sacking Nuno for Scott Parker, who plays terrible football and isn't Premier League standard? Probably not. So, look, it's not the fresh start I wanted, but it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all negative on that front. Now we've got that sorted, sort the structure out, start making moves. Start looking and talking to players and thinking about who we can keep and who has to go. And the one benefit is, you know, unlike if we was in the Premier League, a lot of players that we'd be looking at would be going to the World Cup. I doubt any players that we're really going to be looking to drop down, but most of them will probably not be in the World Cup. You probably get some players from smaller countries that you might sign up be going to the World Cup, but hopefully that just means, you know, the World Cup situation isn't going to be too much of a distraction for us, you know. And get the players sold quick that need selling. Get the list drawn up. Simple. And we haven't got a director of football, so just make Nuno the manager and let him pick it. I know it goes against everything I've been saying about him. I don't have faith in him, but he's the manager. Like I said, no half measures. Go in all the way, back him, and he'll succeed and fail on his own merits. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with this decision? Do you see any positives in it? But yeah, I'll keep on top of this on here and West Ham Fan TV, so do subscribe to both channels.